What's up guys, welcome back to another video of Northern Economics. Today we're going to be talking about why British politics feels so broken. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Okay, so here's the current picture. Today the UK suffers from economic uncertainty, a rise in political extremism, lack of consumer and business confidence, poor leadership and an ageing population. All of these can be summed down to three main problems that are with the UK economy at the moment. So let's get on to have a look at them. There are three main problems which explain why the UK is in the position it's in right now. Firstly, political instability. The UK has had multiple successive unpopular governments which have failed to gain the trust of the public. This is not good for long-term economic stability. Secondly is economic short-termism. These governments, they implement policies that want quick fixes so that they will be viewed more popularly. And this is a problem because it simply fails to see the long-term impact of what is going on, and it doesn't lead to very good time in the long run. And thirdly is the cost of living crisis, which has been constantly creeping behind everyone's backs. Everyone knows it's there, it's constantly there 24/7, and it just makes life more difficult for everyone. So let's have a look at the first one, political instability. For political instability, first past the post-electoral system, it creates frustration as the actual number of votes that a party gets does not represent what happens. I mean, it funnels, it's a winner-takes-all system, where if you win everything, but if you lose everything. So the nature of this system basically means that smaller parties get less than what they should, and bigger parties get more than what they should. So it's great for stability, but it also creates frustration with the system, as people starting to like small parties again for some reason. This is a big thing with Reform especially. They're on about 30% of the polls at the moment, and they only have about 5 seats. It's not good for them. So you can understand why people get annoyed with that. And the rise of social media as well, for the second point. It creates division because people see extreme things. It always, it floats to the top. We always see more extreme things every day and every day. It happens, it keeps coming. And it just drives more division, and it creates more instability because people get angry, and that's not good. Political fatigue as well. People are just getting tired of the way things have been, and a general sense of pessimism. People aren't happy with what's going on, and people haven't been this way for some time, and yet nothing's changing. So you can understand why things are the way they are in that regard. So let's move on to the second point. Moving on to economic short-termism. This one is a big one. Constant policy changes with new governments. It stunts growth as you can't reap the fruits of the policy which the previous government has implemented because you've changed it. So because it just keeps changing and changing, it means none of them can really be implemented to their fullest extent, and thus you don't get the rewards that it promises, and it can just, this results in changing policies but no tangible improvement to the people. So people get fed up of the way things are. Now, the effects of short-termism can definitely be seen when you compare the USA's economic and really political model with the China, who have long-term economic planning. So they have been, planning this for years. They have had a long-term vision, uninterrupted, and they can really benefit from this long-term plan without having to worrying about election cycles and stuff like that. So it basically just means they're able to have a greater plan and thus have a greater impact on their future. And you can see it in, obviously there's many factors at play, but in high levels of economic growth. Now, in the UK specifically, this basically creates a spiral of decline effect because people get fed up, so they vote in a new government and they implement their policies, and then when they don't come to fruition, so when that doesn't happen, the cycle just repeats and repeats, and it keeps on going. So let's move on to the third and final point. The third and final point is the cost of living crisis. Rising economic pressure on households increases political frustration and stifles extremism. This can be seen in the rise of Reform on the right and the Greens on the left, respectively. Both of these have seen an increase in the number of votes and their vote percentage. because people are getting frustrated and they're being radicalized and they're turning to more extreme options rather than traditional parties such as Labour or the Conservatives. Now, this can also be seen through global shocks becoming more common. Obviously, there was COVID in 2020, the Russia-Ukraine war in 2022, and recently the USA-Iran war of 2026. This is just more pressure on global supply networks, and it exacerbates inflation, especially in the UK. Now, all of these points which I've talked about thus far are reflected in the economics of the situation. UK growth has been flat for over a decade, and people feel it more than you'd think. Lower business confidence impacting the supply side, and with private sector investment falling, consumer confidence and thus consumption takes a hit. This is not good. Also, productivity hasn't recovered since 2008. It creates a lost decade effect, where basically we still haven't recovered to that 2008 peak, meaning that we're falling behind in the world stage, and it's not great for the UK economy, impacting, stocks and really just overall confidence in the economy. And post-2008 austerity campaigns from the Conservatives crippled the public services network and investment, resulting in poor infrastructure and less capacity for growth moving forward. Now, it's all great me saying this, but what actually needs to change? Now, I'm going to put forward some ideas. They're not solutions, but they're simply just things to think about and keep in mind when policy is made. So, prioritize long-term financial stability over short-term fixes, because they may look great on paper, but it's just almost always better to plan long-term for stability, and so that you can adapt to a changing world and shocks in the system which are becoming ever more prevalent. And also promoting politics that rewards honesty, transparency, and results over claims and victimization, because it's better to be transparent and honest, because that's just a better way for it to be. And also stable and strong leadership. We don't need a prime minister that lasts 1.5 years. We need a good 5 years. We've not had someone last for 5 years in a while, and it would be great to have that again. So anyway, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.